So on the English test, we need to kind of break things down because as we saw, time can be an issue. Now, we will do at the end of this, we'll do a practice one with the new format, so hopefully that helps a little bit because it will be shorter. You do have less time overall, but it gives you more time per question. However, you still have to be able to work fairly quickly as you're going through here. So the first strategy is to break them into a now, later, or never question. So a now question is something you look at and you think you can do this. You know, it's a real easy, like what's wrong with the underlined portion? Even if you're not 100% sure on the answer, it doesn't take a lot of time to make a decision and circle them. So we want to do those questions now. A later question is something that maybe you're like, okay, I know I can do this, but it's going to take a lot of time. So things that sometimes it'll have, you know, which of these answers is the worst option? And it might give you 4 really long sentences or something to read. Okay, you can do that, but it's not a real quick question, or you know you're going to have to really think about it, or you know you struggle with those types of questions. When you do that, you can think of those as later questions. Later questions are something that you can do, but you want to make sure you have enough time. You don't want to miss easy questions because you spent too much time on that one. So that might be a circle it and come back at the end if you have extra time question. I don't recommend like doing the other passages and coming back because you'll forget and you'll end up rereading that whole passage, but maybe when you get to the end of that passage, if you're like, okay, I answered all those, I only spent 5 minutes on this passage, I can go ahead and answer this question. A never question is something that you really struggle with. So maybe those questions where it's like, where should this sentence be placed to make the most sense? If you know you have a hard time with those, don't waste the time on it now. Guess and save that time for questions that you know you can get right. Because on ACT, everything is equal weight. You don't get more points for getting the hard questions right. Okay, so focus on the ones that you really can do. If it's something that you know you can't, then just guess and move on. Don't waste the time on it. The other thing to keep in mind is on the English test, it's not like math. The math one kind of gets harder as you go. That's not the case with the English. Okay, so there's no specific level of difficulty. So you don't have to worry about thinking, okay, these questions at the beginning are the easy ones. I really need to spend my time on those. You just want to get through everything. But this one suggestion I have is answer all the questions in a passage or a page, then bubble those in. We talked about how it can take a lot of time to read a question, go to your answer sheet, and bubble it. If it doesn't take you too much time, that's fine. But if that slows you down a lot, you might work a page at a time. You answer all the questions on that page, then you go fill in your bubble sheet for that page. And just make sure you're watching your question numbers as you go through that. Okay. When you're doing those also, kind of when we work through them, we were reading our passage and answering the questions at the same time. That's what you want to do there. It's not one where you want to read the entire passage and then go and try to answer all the questions. When you get to an underlined part, jump to that question and answer it as you go. All right, so one thing that they sometimes ask, or one thing that we've talked about when they ask questions, is kind of figuring out what is the question asking me to do. On the English one specifically, a lot of times there's not even a question over there. You know, it might give you a sentence and you go over and it's just answer choices. They're asked, look at those answer choices to decide what we're testing. So when I look at this question, Nigerian author Chimamanda, I don't know how to say that, is highly acclaimed for her novels, short stories, and essays. There is my underlined portion. When I come down, there's no question, but But if you look at this, can you tell what's varying among those answer choices? Commas. So it's testing the comma usage. Okay, so I go back. Is it correct the way it was written? No. What's wrong with it? What do you guys think? What needs to change on it? Okay. So we said the no change is wrong. So we can look, if you're not 100% sure, if I ask you what's wrong and you still don't know, look at your answer choices. Okay, we have a comma after author. Do we need that? Yeah, they're trying to set apart the name here. Okay, we're inserting that name. So we know it's not that one. Be careful also, when you just said comma after author, I don't know if anyone else did this, but I kind of looked up and I'm like, oh, yeah, B has a comma after author. Is that the right answer though? No, because we also need that comma at the end of the name. So don't just see what you're looking for and circle it. Make sure you look for all the differences. We need both commas there. Is that okay? Process of elimination. That's what we kind of started out using there. We looked at it, we said it's not correct, so I can mark off the no change. We said it needs a comma after author, so we can mark off the one that doesn't have that. So mark in your answer books. That is yours. You can mark through those answers as you go. So process of elimination is very helpful. I want you guys to take a second, read this question, and see if you can get an answer, and then we'll talk about it. Make sure you're not only going through the passage and reading the things that are underlined. You do need to read the rest of the sentence so you have some context and you can make your choices. So after Adichie won the MacArthur Genius Grant in 2008, she will publish a book of short stories called The Thing Around Your Neck. Okay. So when I look at this, will publish. What do we need to do here? Is it correct the way it's written? No. Okay, so then when we look at that, we know we can mark off the no change. What's wrong with it? Okay, it's not the right tense. If you look at the previous one is past tense. So we have to match our tense throughout. So the next will publish, that needs to be moved into past tense. So what's the correct answer? G. Oh, apparently I have a typo. Which G? How about that one? Published, past tense. Okay, try another one. Okay, your gut is going to be able to tell you the correct answer a lot of times. You guys have all read. Okay, you're in high school, you've read quite a bit. You know what sounds right. So trust your instincts, but don't solely rely on them. Make sure you can verify that that is a correct choice. So in March 2017, a panel chose Adichie's book, Americana, as their selection for a citywide book club. All right, what do you think? Does it sound obviously wrong? Not really. Who chose here? What's my subject here? Panel. Okay. So, panel. Is that a person or is that a thing? Here. It's a thing. So you wouldn't say there. What would you say? It's. Okay, what's the difference between IT apostrophe S and ITS? Yep, that means it is. We want its. Try another one. On these, no change is almost always an option. It's a valid option. It is going to be right sometimes. So don't assume there is an error and among a generation of new writers, Adichie has emerged as one of the freshest, most original voices. Okay, do you see anything obviously wrong with that? No. Okay, so no change still seems valid. Let's try, if I look at my choices, it's not talking about punctuation, it's not talking about vocab, it's just talking about different ways to phrase the same thing. So let's try putting those different phrases in the underlined part and seeing if that makes sense. If we said Adichie has been distinguished and deemed as one of the freshest, most original voices, makes sense, but remember, they want the most concise option. Is that more concise? Does it get some point across that we're missing otherwise? No. Come on the scene as, is that better than saying emerged? No. Made a strong case to be called, is that a more clear? No. So this one is no change. While those other phrases might say the same thing, there is no reason to change what's there. It's already correct. Okay. Let's focus now on verbs. So that is our big focus today. What are verbs? You guys remember? Action verbs. Okay, action words. So take a second. You guys can all probably pick out, I want you to circle what's wrong in each of those sentences. What's wrong in the first sentence? Yeah. Play should be plays. Okay. What about the second one? Mary and Allison practice every day. Okay, what about the third one? Okay. Right. Because it tells us next week. That means it's future tense. It hasn't happened yet. So it needs to be travels. Right. What about this one? Became should be become. Right. Most of the time, you are going to catch those without going into all the rules of why everything is the way it is, just by what sounds right. You know, when I read Ryan plays soccer, I know that's not right. Do you remember the rule why you have to have an S? Maybe, maybe not, but you know the correct way to say it. All right. On the ACT, you guys know there's different tenses for our words. They mostly focus on past, present, and future. Okay. Sorry, they're finally, after all this time, telling me that they sent me the wrong thing. I figured out already, but they're telling me to go back to my rep that won't respond to my emails. So, okay. Perfect tenses, that doesn't show up as much, but when they do, you're going to see irregular verbs pop up quite a bit because they want to know, like, became, become. It's not your simple, like, play, plays, played, where you're just adding S or ED onto the end. They look at those irregular verbs. So I have actually typed up a list of irregular verbs for you, and I was going to give you that and just kind of look at this for a second. Might be helpful to familiarize yourself with it a little bit before you take the ACT, just so you're used to some of that conjugation. You don't necessarily have to remember like all the different things, but when you have the participle form, and I put a note at the bottom to remind you, it says that the past participles can be formed by adding have, has, or had, or a form of be. So you won't just say, like for instance, become, you'll see like has become, you'll see that word with it. So that's just kind of showing you some of the more common ones that it'll test over, like become, became, begin, began, begun, those types of things. Take a second. Do you guys have you seen these before? I'm assuming probably talked about them quite a bit. But do you have any questions over those? I just wanted to give you those. We will reference them a couple times, so don't lose that paper. All right, then I have another page I want you guys